And Dr. Kwesi Amachi-Boateng, for example, our correspondent in the northern region, Savannah, as well as northeast region, for example, just itemizes what the targets are and what has been registered just from the first day. In Kumbungu, only 71 people had been registered, even though we had over 500 people who had converged at the center to get registered. Now, it will mean that within that area, that whole constituency, people had to travel far and near to be there. And the machines, he said, were faulty. The network was slow. And then also the personnel manning those machines did not almost know what they were doing with those machines. Sadly, even in Tamale South, only 2 people were registered at the end of the day. You take a look at some of these numbers. Dr. Kwesi Amachi-Boateng, with all your experience, how would you describe the attempt by the Electoral Commission to be justifying why it decided to put at least only 1 registration center per district?
Roland, actually, there can't be any justification for that. The gentleman from the MPP cited previous cases, precedents. In a situation of this nature, precedents do not turn into the norm. The norm is established by the Constitution, is established by the EC's own CI that the gentleman from the NDC read. So the mere fact that previously some of these exercises have taken place in the EC's office does not necessarily provide a justification. Roland, we are playing games. We are playing games. Unfortunately, it is a dangerous game. You see, critically, you want to look at this issue. Electoral management bodies in democracies around the world face daunting charges. In spite of the experience, in spite of the technological superiority, the United States admitted that in the elections of 2020, the one that really has created problems for Donald Trump, did have some challenges. They admitted. But the challenges weren't enough to really overturn the outcome of the whole electoral processes. And for that matter, Donald Trump did not have a case. I've been following the developments over there. Now, the point I'm making is that here in Ghana too, we are bound to have challenges. The first day's challenges, for example, could be forgiven. I mean, the EC could be forgiven for the first day's challenges. But the problem is the posture of the EC. It makes it difficult for you to take the EC as playing the role of an independent body and, for that matter, an objective referee. Like I said, technically, these things that we in political science call procedural certainties, making sure that the rules are interpreted fairly. In this case, that is missing. The EC's insistence on having these procedures take place at the offices is a misinterpretation of the rule. It is an illegality. And there's another issue, time and context. I'm reliably informed that these exercises have not been done for the past 2 years. The implication is obvious. The numbers have gone up, meaning that if some time back you conducted it at your office, the processes were smooth. Even then, ordinarily, the EC that wants a smooth processes will engage the political parties, the key actors, interested actors, at a meeting and get into some consensus with them before doing it at your offices. You don't do it relying on your powers, the argument that I'm an independent body, I can decide where to do it. You can't decide where to do it. So In a situation of this nature, you cannot give the EC the benefit of the doubt and say that it is facing normal challenges that democracies around the world also face. In a situation like this, it is only fair to be suspicious of the EC. Why? Because we operating with a paradox here. Members of the EC are interested actors because they vote. Even in the United States, Donald Trump went all out to try to get people to affect the system. Currently, one has been jailed. Here, it should not be out of place for those interested in the outcomes of our elections to try to affect the EC, to introduce biases into the operations of the EC. It is not something that we should take for granted. And so it's good that the NDC, those political parties with NDC or on their own taking an action at the courts. So, like you said, the EC currently cannot be given the benefit of the doubt. The sort of challenges we have are the places where to be anticipated by an experienced electoral commission. The EC of Ghana should be that experienced. The first day, this was to be anticipated. And here, where I sit, I can't blame the EC for the difficulties that the machines, some of the machines have been having. But then it is really also interesting why the machines are behaving that way in specific locations. Why is that the case? These machines, do they have what I call some organic elements in them so that they also become sensitive to the environment? The numbers are ridiculous. So I think the EC is creating problems for itself. It is not making it possible for us to give it the benefit of the doubt because of the normal challenges associated with democratic procedures everywhere around the world. There are normal challenges, difficulties. But then the issue has got to do with the posture and then the implications of the actions and inactions of the EC. Here, one dangerous implication is that many of the first ladies and gentlemen who went to register and got terribly frustrated might not go back. They might not go back.
Yeah.
And you see, when it happens like that, it is Ghana that is placing constraints in their way. If they decide not to go back, Ghana has consciously or unconsciously disenfranchised them.
Yeah,
and that becomes an illegality.
And Dr. Kwesi Amachibwating, the worry is that people will get disenfranchised because this is becoming almost like a deliberate attempt or ploy by the Electoral Commission to undertake these delays of registration in areas of the opposition. And this is at variance to what its own CI 91, which is governing this registration process, says. And it says in section 3, if you take a look at it, it says the commission shall, at least 21 days before the first day of the national registration voters, inform political parties and the general public by publication in a gazette at a place it designates as a registration center. Now, before then, it says that in designating a place, that's in 2, as a registration center, the commission shall take into consideration the suitability of the place for use as a polling station on election day and the accessibility of the place to prospective applicants for registration. Now, we have reports coming in. And for example, Dr. Clementa Park, who is a member of parliament for Bosa South. If you go to Bosa South, vastly sparsely populated. He says 3 out of the applicants were registered, only 3, Dr. Amachibwating, only 3 were registered in the EC office in Bosa South. Sadly, most applicants traveled from distant communities, Dr. Amachibwating. This is the rainy and famine season with terrible roads. And Dr. Amachibwating, you have experienced these things yourself. Even in the center of Kumasi, we have these problems you keep complaining about. I've heard you many times. In addition, the cost of transportation is too much to bear. Dr. Amache Boateng, if you were close to some of these first-time registrants, how would you feel? On the other hand, as a political scientist too, what is your reaction to some of these things?
Obviously, like I suggested, some of them might really become fed up with the system and might not go back. Some of them might not go back, given the current economic challenges that we find ourselves in, the level of unemployment. Many of these people find themselves in that, situation. So already they are really dissatisfied with Ghana. They are. I always ask students what their reaction would be if they were to be given an opportunity just to enter a plane that would take them out of this country to any developed country of their choice. They don't need passports, they don't need visas. They were laughing at me. There won't be a single person in the class, in a few moments after that. So you have many people desiring to leave the country. Clearly, we can speak of misgovernance. If one's country is not attractive, the place where you ordinarily feel safe, where your constitution protects you, if you don't want to stay there, then we have misgovernance in place. In the midst of this, then we have an electoral commission, and I like the way you put it. That is not giving us the opportunity to say that the electoral commission is doing its best, but it's encountering challenges. We are not in a position to say that. Now, what we can say is that it appears the Electoral Commission has developed an interest in the exercise. It shouldn't have an interest in the exercise. Its interest should be to serve Ghana. And so it should have been seen on its own to be facilitating the procedures. The last time I was making a case somewhere. I stay at KNUST closer to Bomso. Oferukrom is where the district office is. I will take just one vehicle to go there. But then I expect some young men and women who will not afford, that amount of money that will involve in taking just one vehicle to go to Oferukrom. They won't. And so they won't go. So here, you can capture that in what the LI establishes. The places where the registration should take place.
Okay.
There shouldn't be any constraint in there. There shouldn't be any difficulty in there. Yesterday, I was saying that we are faced with an interesting scenario. The EC, I'm told, is a lawyer. Dr. Bosman Asari, my colleague, lecturer, a political scientist. Then you expect these two to have all the expertise necessary to serve Ghana, in the best way possible. They are not doing that. They are not doing that. The two people can have no excuses for what is happening. Okay. It is only reasonable to say that it is a conscious effort to frustrate the system. I will come to that conclusion if this development, unfolds continuously for, say, 1 week, and we still have these challenges. The challenges of getting people to travel long distances when the Constitution mandates the EC not to do that.
Exactly.
The EC is flouting it. The lawyer, Jay Mensah, knows this. The political scientist, Dr. Bosman Asari, knows this. And so it is an overt action, conscious behavior by the Electoral Commission to disenfranchise people. I'll wait for a while, and then I'll be able to come out to openly say that.
All right.
I want to see how they react to the first day's challenges and whether they are ears to hear. At the time that hearing will do them and Ghana some good. Because time is a factor in the discussion that we are having. As far as I'm concerned at this point, these issues have been in the public for a while. I don't think they have ears to hear. But then let's see, what transpires in the days ahead.
Right. You seem to be a patient man, Dr. Kwesi Amache Boateng. Now, Mr. Fuakwa, how do we get these things resolved? Ruling party or no ruling party? You're a politician. How do we get these things resolved?
It is the civic right of every citizen to undertake its civic responsibility to the nation. And as far as that is concerned, we believe that the way to go is a national identification system. We need not to be queuing long queues to get ourselves registered. How can we keep doing this for years? We've done that in the past because we did not have structures and systems in place. And now we have the National Identification Authority, a single database of the country. Can't we link up all our ID systems and synchronize them together so that when you get to the age of 18 or age of majority, that you can register to get yourself onto the electoral roll, the system will communicate automatically just for your confirmation systems so that even in the comfort of your home, you can even get your clearance to get yourself registered because your ID number is there. It is linked with the Electoral Commission's database and all these material issues, whether somebody is in bed or what, all these things will be a thing of the past so that we can also join hands with the advanced world in doing some of these things. Roland, we can't continue to be queuing outside to get a voters register. That is why even in the Electoral Commission, one of their CIs, they have a continuous registration process. That the continuous registration process will be implemented on those kind of things. And I believe that they must synchronize that together with the National Education Authority database. But my brother made some seemingly statements on your platform that we are corrupt with the Electoral Commission, we are stealing with the Electoral Commission and all those material facts. Were they doing that when they were in government with the Electoral Commission? The mere fact that as a political party with interests in the electoral processes of this country are not coming out openly to condemn or to entertain some of the issues that they are doing, to chastise state institutions, means that we are in bed with the Electoral Commission. It's a fallacy. It is not true. The public must disregard those statements, and we are focused as a political party to be doing what we must do for the people of this country. Roland, the Electoral Commission is independent.
That's what we say.
The Constitution of our country is the supreme laws of our country. And per Article 2.1 of our Constitution, that any other person who finds that any enactment is inconsistent with the Constitution of Ghana can bring an action to the Supreme Court. And I believe the National Democratic Congress, a political party with interest in elections in this country, the Convention People's Party and the Liberal Party of Ghana and another political party are in court before the Supreme Court to invoke the original jurisdiction of the Supreme Court as far as the enforcement and interpretation of the Constitution are concerned. Dr. Amache Boateng is also saying the Electoral Commission is misinterpreting the provision of the constitutional instrument.
It's not true.
And I don't have the requisite mastery to say that they are misinterpreting the provision of the Constitution or the CI.
They are misapplying.
Where rival meanings are ascribed to a portion of a legislation or a constitution, then the onus lies on the Supreme Court or the High Courts to give us interpretation to this matter. And that is why we are in support with the action that has been brought before the court for interpretation in this matter.
The MPP is in support.
Why? The people of Ghana are in support. That at the end of the day, the court will bring finality to this matter so that rival interpretations and rival meanings that are being given to the provision of this CI, as you rightly read, that the Electoral Commission must create accessibility, enabling environment, and all those suitabilities, whether they considered all those material facts or not, will be settled by the courts of our country.
As we wind now, let me take a couple of your messages before we get on to the next issue of the IGP and quickly deal with it, because Dr. Kwesi Amache Boateng is still with us, so as a political scientist, he can also do justice to the subject. Kelvin Ni Ashon says, it's intentional. Inshallah, we will rescue this country. La ilaha illallah, we will rescue this country. Kelvin, thank you for the message. Kojo Tetebotaimba saying, hey, what is the MPP communicator saying? Musa Ali Koni says, can you tell Mr. Fuakwa that he's simply not speaking to the issue? Well, to be fair, he's fairly speaking to the issue as well. Bra Kweku, not only are people being disenfranchised, but also these are attempts to start a rigging process. That's Bra Kweku. Now, Harisu Laminu says the media is also contributing to the political ridicule of the EC. You focus too much on the challenges based on the reports. There are equally positives from yesterday's activity. And then also, if this persists, then there should be a cause to riot or demonstrate. That's Lord Rich. Now, Dr. Kwesi Amache Boateng, I'll come to you in a bit, but let me take an insert from yesterday's witness statement of the IGP before the committee that is investigating the Bugri Nabu removal of the IGP leak tape.
Made all these allegations in order to cover up probably the shame associated with what they got themselves involved in the first place. And I, an innocent person, focusing on my job, working in concert with my team and all commands across the country to keep the country safe and make it to be at peace with itself. I've been asked to come and answer to these allegations, which are wide, baseless, and I feel in my spirit.
Dr. Kwesi Amache Boateng, what do you make of the IGP's appearance before the committee yesterday? Just shortly, because we don't have enough time. I'll give you 3 minutes, please.
Well, I've heard many commentaries about it, and many people see his appearance there as ridiculous. And that it gives an impression that he's the one who stands accused. And well, looking at it, it's really funny. Lawyers, they talk about the one who alleges will have to, simply demonstrate that he or she knows what he's talking about, and you would have expected that thing to happen. But then he has been there, and then he's come out. I think we await the outcome of the whole procedure. But one thing with the current IGP, he really has a vision that is guiding him. And I think it is a good vision for Ghana. There's one thing that I've not seen any IGP do: stakeholder engagement. He's been doing that, trying to reach out to various segments of society, to listen to them, and also to engage them and try to demystify some of the things that surround the police. And to me, that is huge. It's an element of good governance, and we can't downplay it. So he might have, his fault. It's an individual, and the police is a human institution. Obviously, the challenges are there.
Okay.
But then some of these things are interesting. We wait to see the outcome.
All right. Osman, how do we deal with this? These are, some say that these are the same elephant fighting. So, because if you don't...
I'm sure if you ask Enoch, same elephants, he'll ask you what type of elephants are fighting. But, even before I come to...
You have 3 minutes, please.
Yes, but I'll just want to react.
You have 3 minutes.
Yes, I have 3 minutes.
Osman, you have 3 minutes.
Yes, Roland, I have 3 minutes. I just want to react to very important things and also send out some information as far as the voter registration is concerned, because that is of utmost importance to me this morning, and to the NDC, and to every young person out there who is 18 years and above and who wants to register, to be able to oust this incompetent government. So to the young people out there, in as much as you are going through so much difficulties in trying to register, even though you are going through so much distance, you have to commute several kilometers to be able to get to your registration center. This is just a clarion call from His Excellency John Dramani Mahama that we should be steadfast. The process of ousting a corrupt government is one that is Herculean. We would have to fight. We will have to make sure we are ready to fight and oust this government. It is not going to be a walk in the park, and the process has just begun. So let us go out there in our numbers. If it's going to take us 10 days, 20 days to register, let us make ourselves available to be able to register and to vote out this incompetent government.
You have a minute.
Thank you very much. Yes, now I wanted to also react, but since I have a minute, let me just try and do what happened yesterday. Interestingly, I've been following this entire Bugri Nabu gates, and some of the tapes have been coming out here and there, and it's been shocking, disappointing, and embarrassing to realize the kind of tapes that have been put out in the public. Some accusations here, some MPP policemen, accusing the IGP, some MPP policemen also saying that they need to mafia a certain group, how they need to orchestrate to be able to win the elections, how they need to do certain things in terms of mafia to be able to win the elections. And this also just comes back to us to understand that the current government is making it very difficult for independent bodies to work so far as their independence is concerned. And that's why I'm not surprised when you asked him that is the MPP and the EC in bed together, and he was finding it very difficult to answer. You realize that they have tried as much as possible to be in bed with many state institutions that are supposed to be independent. I believe that even though the image of the Ghana Police Service has been bastardized, I believe that there are still some individuals in there with high moral integrity, some individuals in there who are ready and willing to work hard for this country, who are ready and willing to make sure that the good things of this country happen. So I am extremely disappointed with the turnout of events, but I must commend the IGP for his display of maturity and how he handled the issues yesterday. But of course, as you said, this is a tale of two elephants fighting.
How do we resolve this then?
Roland.
You have 3 minutes.
Yeah.
In actual fact, it's 2 minutes. Hurry up.
The Inspector General of Police was before the parliamentary committee to give his testimony with regards to the matter that has been raised. It was Mr. Bugri Nabu's private conversation with some officers who were interested in lobbying to become to get the high office of Inspector General of Police, to get themselves appointed. It has nothing to do with government. It has nothing to do with the New Patriotic Party. But judging from the outcome and how the conduct of these investigations are going, it adds another layer to our democracy, and it has deepened our democratic practices and ideals. I am enjoined to say that at the end of it all, at least there will be several reforms in the police service. And the police administration or POMA will also learn a lot from these things. My worry is that they have their own set of regulations, and they need not to have waited for even the parliamentary probe. They ought to have taken action earlier to have resolved this matter internally per their internal grievance procedures. But it is better late than never. I believe that the principle of natural justice must also prevail, and that anyone that has been mentioned must be interrogated so that at the end, the nation Ghana benefits from the outcome of this, so that we can have a better police service that can give us the peace of mind to sleep as citizens of this country.
Okay, let me go through a couple of your comments before we wrap up for this morning, and then we cash out, and then I get a last word from Dr. Machi Boateng. Mike Kofi Aflu says, did I hear President Akufo-Addo say that what His Excellency John Mahama said about the judiciary is dangerous? What is more dangerous than the wicked agenda of the MPP of a repaying fear restricted a Japadia document? Now, I have Alhaji Hassan, who says, why should the court set a date of hearing between the political parties and the EC after the exercise of the registration, by which time the exercise would have been over? Now, I have this one also from Kwewu Abetifi, and that's from Haruna. He says, in the Abetifi constituency, only 2 persons came out to register their name because those in the hinterland could not come because they didn't have the means to. Anthony Nukpenu says, citizens from Domiabra, Obom, traveled all the way to Wejagbawe, SCC, to be registered. Out of the 101 people who came from the distance, only 17 were registered. 84 had to go back yesterday without getting registered. A person, for example, spent 65 Ghana cedis. And then you say, Roland, the high number of registrants on the first day of the registration, where MPP won in 2020, and you made mention, Tamale South, Central 3, Willensi 14, Tamale North 16, Sanorogo 16, and counting. So you're worried about it. Now, I have Maxwell Akpabli. Is Dr. Apiahene, the MPP communicator who is now the EC member, not enough reason for anyone to say the EC is in bed with the MPP? The MPP communicator should stop lying. That's Maxwell Akpabli. Ayawaso East constituency. 2024 election is going to be based on track records, and no instructions can help any political party to rig elections. Dr. Baumia Beba, signal no, you're strong. Master Planner Junior Kentampo. And then I have this one from Dr. Hilal Liman Technical University, from Tain President. Tain is NDC, right?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So he says we plead with the EC to decentralize the registration center across polling station. Now, it is a sad situation. For example, we're even talking about Ashanti, and this one, he says, the capital is in Suta in the Ashanti region. If people from Yereso or Oku want to come to register, they have to take the motorcycle to Ejura, join a car to Mampong, and take another car to Insuta. This means that they may decide not to be on the voters' roll, and Dr. Mache Boateng has said that. Now, I have this one from Awudu. And then another one, I have this one also from Kalio. Kalio says, IGP Dampare was superb. In fact, he deserved to be the IGP. Now, Dr. Mache Boateng, your wrap-up comments in a minute, especially on the EC's organization and supervision of the register. Just in a minute, 60 seconds, before we go to cash out.
The EC boss should take note of the fact that if anything untoward happens in the elections ahead of us, 2024 presidential and parliamentary elections, he stands accused as a person, as an individual who would have abused her office and consciously thrown Ghana into that confusion. And if we saw what happened in the United States, a near coup d'etat, elections have the potential to generate such a thing in any country. No country is absolutely secure, especially if it is a democratic country, because democracies consciously organize hot conflicts in elections. So anything at all can get out of hand.
Okay.
And if something like that should happen, the EC boss, Jane Mensah, stands accused.
Okay.
He would have made history. She would have made history, yeah.
Thank you. The distinguished Dr. Kwesi Amache Boateng of the History and Political Studies Department, Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology. Thank you, Osman. And then also, I give you first name, Osman and Enoch. Thank you very much. And then I have this one from Mama Gold. Whatever you do to disenfranchise us, Ghanaians will surely speak December 2024, inshallah. And then we also have Benjamin Tete. Can you tell the MPP gentleman to speak as a patriotic citizen and not one who is only thinking about power? Power will change one day. It can be today, it can be tomorrow. Now, this one from Ni Atukwekwe, Neodic. Roland, please, is the National Peace Council aware of these issues going on? Kindly contact them for us, because they've been sleeping for too long. And then also Pascal Beba also adds the Christian Council. All right. Thank you for watching this morning.